In this short tutorial video, I show you how you can simplify your reference photos by simply looking for shapes and tones. Hi everyone, welcome to this short, I think it's going to be a short tutorial video. I just wanted to do a quick video about shapes and simplifying things. I've just come back off a workshop teaching snow leopard, which I've taught quite a few times now, and when I try and get people to see past the texture and just the shapes and everything, it really helps them leap forward with their work so much quicker. So this little video should be quite invaluable to you. So a few of you might know that a couple of weeks ago I went and did a workshop myself, a painting workshop with Tom Shepherd, and it just reminded me of all the basic drawing techniques that, I learned many moons ago. So I thought I'd just grab a few of those pictures, quick little teeny sketches that I took a few seconds to do. I mean, these all took me maybe like a minute to do, quick little sketches. Now, Tom tends to see in rectangles. I tend to see in circles and triangles, mostly triangles for fur, but when I'm just mapping out movement, animals and everything, most of it is triangles, but then I look for rounded shapes within those. So looking at things like this, like I say, you can just see I've got a directional line here of where the animal is travelling. But if you look then at the actual animal itself, so you've got a directional line, but then I tend to look for shapes within. So I'll tend to take this huge back leg as one giant triangle. I'll take the body here as one great big rectangle, and then I'll just round off the edges. But that's the first thing I'm looking for. And here the ears, I'll be looking, there's a big triangle there, slightly smaller triangle there, there's another triangle the other side of it, sort of two upside down triangles meeting for the actual shape of the head, rather than it being a circle. I don't tend to see in circles. And then a couple of rectangular blocks here for the paws, that then they all just meet together. So as long as I've got that directional line, you can see here I've just got in my triangles for my ears. And again, you tweak all of this. This is just a really rough blocking in stage. I've got my big triangle for a back leg there. Let's have a look at one of the other ones. So here I've got like a lot of movement in the dog, and again, I'm not looking for exact precision. We just work on the basic shapes and the angle that we're travelling at. So here I've got that back triangle for the leg again. Smaller triangle there for the head. Just looking for shapes and angles, but you should get the idea. What we're going to do is work across to, here I did it in circles. So I've got this first circle of the head here. Then I've got another circle coming around the outside of the head. Then almost another off-center circle coming around here for the next part of the mane. I did that as sort of like a big rectangle, and then a triangle down here for the two front paws, triangle for that back paw, and then a triangle for that back leg. Obviously I rounded it all off, but those are the shapes that I was seeing in my head and making sure they all followed that line of direction that the animal was moving in. So not exact, but it gave me a good starting point. So I want to come now to the, what triggered it as well, was working on our live stream. So I've been trying to say to people, right, look at this. If you squint at it, or if you wear glasses, take your glasses off to make it all fuzzy. It takes away those fur details that you all get really hung up about early on. Fur details, like I say, are going to come in the last 10% of the drawing work. This first 90% is all about colour blocking. So when I say about blocking, you want to start off with the biggest blocks of tone and colour that you can see. I usually start with tone. So I'll put in my darkest shapes first, and then I'll just keep building those. So I've started on the right hand eye as we look at it, and the first thing I see is a great big triangle. So that dark shadow is a great big triangle. Once I've got that great big triangle mapped in, let's have a look on this side. We've got another big triangle. Okay, there's a couple of curves, but say get the triangle points, like where it starts, where it finishes, and the third point there. Then you can add a slight bend and a slight curve for those points to meet up. But basically it's a triangle. And then you'll start to look within that triangle. Now over on this side, so we've got this triangle. There's another triangle within that's slightly darker. And obviously when we start to add colour, it's slightly bluer. There's another inverted dark triangle here. So that first initial triangle, we've broken it up. We've got one smaller one there that's bluey black. Another one here. And then we've actually got a third one up here. So that initial triangle then, the big one, gets broken down into three, and within those three we see slightly different colours and different tonal values to we saw in that initial big one. Even on the outside here, so here, if you look here, you've got those two triangles of dark that you've put in, and then here, upside down, where we've got the nose, we've got an upside down triangle, so the point comes up to the top, we follow all the way down to the bottom, across, and then up again. I wish I was drawing these on actually. And then come across to the eye. So we know we've got a dark triangle here. But if you look then, there's a triangle of light coming up that side. So as you see, I see in triangles. Some people see in squares, some people see in circles, rectangles, oblongs. Just look for those basic shapes. Here, we've sort of got an oblong there. If we just take that one light shadow there, and then we know that it meets up over here. So you make a longer, an elongated oblong there. Another triangle here with this light highlight, and then an inverted triangle above it. They're not exact shapes, but they are basic enough to give you a starting point if all you're panicking about is I'm drawing fur or I'm drawing a dog's face, I can't do it. And you can do exactly the same when you come into things like the eyes as well. Let's just see if I can zoom in. I haven't tried this yet, so let's zoom into one of the eyes and see what shapes we've got. Let's pull this one across here. So, yeah, we've got the reflections of the window. They're obvious. They're sort of just like squares there. Almost just like a little bit of a bendy square, and yeah, we've got the obvious circle of the pupil. But if you start looking at the shapes within, we've got these little dark shadows of the eyelash reflections, triangles, and another triangle there. There's a curve on the end, but again, it's a triangle. All of these little shapes within, I just see chunks of tone and colour in mostly triangles. I should get a pound for every time I say a triangle. But that's what colour blocking is all about. You don't worry about these textures. It is all about seeing the biggest shapes possible and then breaking down the big shapes into smaller shapes. So as you see here, going on from that, I think it's the first work in progress. So this side's hardly only had like 1 or 2 layers down. This side's had quite a few layers down. But I came in over here. Here's that initial triangle. And there it is. I've given it a curve around the eye on this side and a curve up over the brow on that side. But I've got 1, 2, 3 key points. They're my starting points. And I join those up. And then I simply colour in the space in between those 3 lines, and I've given it, you know, I build up, then I start to add, okay, this area is darker, so I'm going to mix some black and some blue. I haven't got any black in there yet, it's just dark indigo. This top part is a bit more ready, so I've mixed some caput mortuum in there already. Then I've got this triangle over here, got this long triangle here, just bending up around the eye, and look, and I've got a small triangle within that one there. I've got this initial small triangle here, which remember it was much more blue, and we've started to add all those blues now. And then this darker blackish triangle within that one there as well. So all of those shapes, and then there's lots of upside down triangles. You see I've left this clear here because we're still working on this one at the moment. There's that giant upside down triangle on the top of the nose. Then here you start to see I'm bringing in some long sweeping triangles. You'll see a lot of these in the bottom edges of fur coming up. So if you think of all the dark shadows under fur as you're trying, it's just upside down triangles first of all. And if it means spinning your picture upside down as well, so you know, sort of spin it upside down so you're not worrying about any of the textures or the fact that it's fur or the dog, just turn it upside down. So now we've got, yeah, there's our big triangle, there's our other triangles within. So I just want you to sort of think about your pictures that way. Here's another view of Bella. So again, think of this as just a great big dark triangle, and then when you zoom in you can start to look, there's a smaller triangle there within, just breaking down the shapes within shapes then into smaller shapes. So I'm going to come over, this is the snow leopard, so this is what we've been working on this weekend, and when I start to get people to block and then start focusing on the dark shapes, let's zoom in, let's take away some of the detail. So what I tend to do is, see up here, I'll say, right, get that great big dark triangle shape in there so it comes into a point, make sure you've got it coming into the exact right point there, and get it dark. And get your tonal value, keep putting enough layers down there, you're getting it to the correct tonal value that matches the reference. Come down here, oops, and you've got another big triangle. Ignore that fur texture because you need all that dark shadow underneath before this white fur will flick over the top much later on. And then when you start to look within this great big triangle on that outer edge, you'll start to see there's some blues, some ochres. You'll start to break down the individual shapes there. I can already see there's a dark triangle within the bigger triangle. Yeah, you've got your round spots there marking out and things like that. But again, you can start to put in lines as well, just to make sure, you know, these are matching up. Drop down plumb lines to make, you know, up and down and across from your bigger shapes. So even here, if you take away this fur that's going to flick out over, take away all of that light fur, and you would be left with going up the outside edge, across that top edge to this dark point here, and then down. That would be one giant dark triangle, and then you'll flick all of this fur in over the top later on. And it is scary to think that way. You're thinking, oh, but my lights won't show up over my darks. But if you've done your pressure test and you've done that sort of, you know, light to dark, dark to light, dark to light, dark to light, and repeated it about 45 times, you'll be able to trust your pastel mat is going to allow you to achieve that with your pencils. So even coming down here, let's have a look for some more shapes. So again, you've got a block there that's a great big chunk. So another great big chunk there, triangle, of the fur where it's all pretty much the same texture and similar colours in there. And yeah, more shapes here. There's like another triangle coming in here. There's an obvious one here. Just got a bit of a bend to it, but it comes into that point, down to there, bottom of that spot, and then up. So yeah, you've got to curve that top edge, but if it just gives you 1, 2, 3 points to put in there first of all, and then you simply just focus within that shape to fill in the colour and the tonal value, that should really help you. So again here with the, let's turn him upside down, Mr. Sleepy Lion. If you look at the mane, if you really want to simplify things with the mane, these are all sort of just bendy triangles. So look for 3 points, so the finishing point of the tip, up to the dark point of the shadow, and the other dark point, and then you've just got a sweeping line. But if you just put in those 3 points first of all, and then get the angle of that curve right, you've got that one in place, and it's exactly the same then for all of these. Finishing point and the top 2 joining points, and then you just sweep the angle around. Sometimes you get some S shapes in here, like here you've got a bit of an S shape. But again, look at the highlights of the eyes, so forget that it's a line, but 1, 2, 3 points, join them up, and there you've got the underneath of the eye. Same on this side. 1, 2, 3. Join them up, and then another shape there, dark shape. Triangle, triangle, triangle. If you see squares, you see squares. Even to the point of the noses, to be honest, as well. I know it's got more of a bend, but 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. And if you want to add more points, then you can come down here and go, okay, I need that dissecting line then. But you just make sure you get the curve and an S shape and a curve, sort of an S shape up to there. But I usually work with 3 points. This fur here, it's like an inverted triangle, so that's my top point. It's like a reverse of over here. There's my top point, is a shadow. I go down, across, second point, and back up, and there is my triangle within. And then I've got some S shapes here, and I've got more triangles, just dark triangles. Even though they've got a curve on them, they're still triangles. Another one here is an obvious one here. Top point, down to the bottom, there's my 2 width points, and there's my triangle. And then all you've got to do is just extend that out, and you've got that lovely long chunk of fur. So I hope that that has helped a little bit explain what I mean when I'm saying looking for those great big shapes. So look for the biggest shapes and then break down the shapes within. So I really hope that's helped a little bit. I was going to do mock-up up here. If I zoom in on the ear, let's just do that quickly. Let me just zoom in on the ear. Mock-up is full of triangles and lots of S shapes. So if you're struggling with things like the fur on ears like this, now where it's hanging quite straight, there's your top point, so do triangles down to here, across and back up. That in there is sort of a very purpley dark shadow, and then you've got more curly triangles, just slightly bendy triangles down here with all these dark shapes. But up here you've got lots of those S bends, so especially on the highlight you've got an S bend. Here you've got an S bend, but if you look at that dark shape there, 1, 2, 3, you've got a triangle again. So like I say, just try and look for those simple shapes. Oh look, big triangle there, under the chin, down to the point, across under the chin. Great big triangle. Yep, you've got to add a little bit of an S bend there to it, but it's a triangle. And same the other, the top part of the ear, another triangle there. So just have a look at a couple of reference photos, flick through a few reference photos, and just see if you can simplify it down into those really basic shapes. So triangles, look at this, if you just take the whole ear, so go up to that top point, down to the bottom, go out to the width and up, and that will give you that main chunk of ear. Then all you need to do is add on another triangle up to the same point there, so 2 triangles, and then you've got an inverted one just for the final shadow there. That's how simple you can make your drawing, just great big key blocks, just like I was reminded to do, you know, with these simple shapes when I was sketching the other week. Okay, so here you can see I just used some circles here for the shoulders and the head, but mainly I'm looking for rectangles and triangles in, that's my natural way of working. So I hope that's helped. Just a quickie, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do just click the little button down the bottom. It does help with my viewing figures. And I'll have another hints and tips video up here for you again soon. Okay, thank you very much for watching.